Welcome to part 5, and this is probably going to be the last of the series. This was my first go at doing a tutorial series, so hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'm pretty sure I can do better on my next try, but if you worry about perfection, you'll never release these things because you just always want to try and do it better the next time. But for the first go, I think it turned out alright. If there's anything you would have liked me to have done differently, feel free to drop a comment down below, and I'll try to do it in the next one. So all that's left now is to do a render of our model. So to do that, let's go back into the normal mode, and we're going to need to grab our camera. Now we could move the camera by maybe going up, hitting G, and moving it around like that, but there's a way easier way to do this. So you want to hit 0 on your number pad. That's going to take you into your camera to see what your camera is looking at. Then hit N and find the View tab on the right. Once you see the View tab, hit, let me extend this a bit, Camera to View. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to lock it. So now when we move, it's going to move our camera with us. Now we can scroll in and zoom just like we would, but it's going to move the camera with us. Let's go into rendered mode to kind of see how we want to position this. You might want to shift drag it a bit, leave it like that. Maybe put it like this. And then once you have a fine enough, view that you're happy with, you can leave it like that. Untick camera to view, and then you can move out of your camera. Hit N again to make that panel disappear to free up some space. Now, so far that's looking good, but it looks a little bit strange with all this, emptiness behind it. So let's select our panel and select these two edge vertices and hit E to extrude and then Z to make it go straight up. Then using the line select, we can just select that line, Control B and bevel it a bit. Then select the whole plane and hit Shade to Smooth. Now if we hit 0 again, that's looking a lot better. We go into rendered mode, and now it's awesome. It almost looks like it's in a void. That's pretty much all the settings you'll need for your camera. If you select your camera, you can either select it, in the outliner, or just go into your scene and click on it. If you select your camera, make sure it's on cycles, but instead of zooming in, if you go to these camera properties, here you have all the kind of settings you would have on like a normal DSLR camera. Here you can change the focal length to zoom in, you can change the unit, the perspective, panoramic, orthographic, but we're just going to use perspective for the time being. I'm going to leave it at 50 mils. There's a bunch of useful stuff in here, but even like depth of field, this is really cool. You just hit on it and use the eyedropper to focus on what you want. There's a bunch of cool settings in here, but they're a little bit advanced, so I'm going to untick that, and I'm just going to leave everything default for the time being. That could maybe be another video or a different tutorial. Once you're happy with where your camera is situated, we can now work on the lighting. There should be a default light source in your scene up here. If there isn't, you can just hit Shift A, Shift A, go all the way down to light, and we're going to select a point. Let's go into the normal mode view, and there we go. Right now it's inside our model, so let's hit G and Z and just pull it up. To get access to light settings, there'll be a little light icon here. If you're not selected, make sure it's selected. Here you can change how the light interacts with your scene. Sometimes it's easier to be in the camera mode and in the rendered mode to see what your light is actually doing. So let's hit G and Z and slowly bring the light down. And then let's maybe move it to the side. Like so. Now, with that selected, you can see it's creating a very perfect shadow. To change that, you want to edit the radius. So the bigger the radius, the softer the shadow is going to be. Let's move it there. Softer shadow, the smaller the radius, the more perfect the shadow is going to be. The power, which is measured in watts, is how bright your light is. So let's make it something crazy, like 10,000 watts, and you see it's just going to blow the whole scene out. But 10 watts is now fine. And then the last thing you might want to change is color. If you maybe wanted to have a red glow to your scene, you could select red, blue, really anything you want. But for the time being, let's actually just leave it default. So I'm just going to turn the saturation all the way down. And then maybe increase the radius just a bit. G, Y, and move it a little bit away. Maybe have a smaller radius. Yeah, something like that. An easier way to sometimes do this is leave one view in the normal mode and hit Z to look at from above. Then go to the side of your viewport and the top right, and there'll be like almost a corner that you can click on. Once you click on that corner, if you just pull and hold it, you'll duplicate your viewport scene. You can also use this to change the different scenes if you wanted to be in a UV editor, but we're just going to have the 3D viewport. Then in this scene, we hit 0 on a number pad to go into the camera view, and we leave it on the rendered mode. This way we can see the final outcome of our scene, but if we edit it on the right, we have better access and better control over moving the lights to clearly see how we want to position our scene. It's quite hard to see when you're working in cycles because it's blurry. Depending on your computer, it might take longer, might be faster. If it's really struggling, you're going to want to go to here, which is the render properties, where it says cycles. And then in the viewport, you want to turn the noise or the max samples down from maybe 64 or 32, turn it all the way down to 16. This will make your scene render a lot quicker, but it won't be as accurate. I like 32. I find it an equal balance of speed to performance, but you know, each computer is different and preferences are different. The next thing we're going to want to change is our rendered output. These you want to be a little bit higher, but for a simple scene like this, 64 samples is going to be fine. And I'm going to turn noise threshold off. You're also going to want to turn denoise on, and you can leave all the settings as default. Now, when you're happy with your lighting and you're happy where your camera is, you're going to want to render the scene. There's two ways of doing this. First, you can go to the top left and hit render, and then render image. Or you can hit F12 on your keyboard. This is now going to open a render view. You'll see the sample count slowly rise at the top left. And once it's reached 64 out of 64, that means your render is complete. So let's just quickly let that cook. It shouldn't take too long, depending on what your computer is. And there we go. Simple scene, it's been rendered. To save the image, you just click Image, Save As, and then choose somewhere to save it. Let's close that. But I think the lighting was a little bit off, so I'm going to lower the brightness. I'm also going to delete the light we've added. So I could hit 0, leave the viewport as it is, select the light we quickly added, and hit X to delete item. That's now going to lower the brightness down a bit. Now let's go and find our other scene light, and I'm just going to want to move it a bit to the right, so we have a clear view of the shadow. There we go. I'm liking that now. It's a little bit dark. So if we go back to our render properties and I hit color management all the way down here at the bottom, we can see the look has no kind of filter over it, and I'm going to add medium to high contrast. This should make our colors a little bit better and a little bit brighter. So let's hit F12 again to render the image. Really, with this kind of part of the process, there is an unlimited amount of time you want to spend on it. And you normally do want to spend quite a bit of time on this process, because you've done a bunch of hard work to get the model out. And now instead of rushing the render, you want to take a couple shots, you want to try different lighting, different angles to make sure you get the right thing. But because this is just a tutorial and it's not a showpiece, this is going to be fine for the purpose we want. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to hit Image, Save As, going to find a place to save it, and let's just call this Hourglass. Save as image. Now that that's saved, I'm going to maybe want to save our scene by just hitting Ctrl S. Here, find a place you want to save it, and all Blender files are going to be a .blend. I'm going to call this one hourglass demo and hit save Blender file. And there we go. I think that does it for an intro tutorial. Don't worry if you feel a little bit overwhelmed. Like I said, Blender is absolutely jam-packed full with shortcuts and different menus, and it's going to seem very overwhelming in the beginning. But after a few tutorials and then just trying simple projects on your own, you'll quickly grasp, how to do the things the right way. Once again, Blender has a huge community, so there's always someone's going to help you. If you're experiencing a problem, most likely someone has experienced that problem before, and by just doing a quick Google search or Reddit forums or Blender forums, you'll be able to find the answer. Anyway, hopefully this helped you, and thanks for watching. If you have any ideas what you want the next tutorial to be on, please leave a comment down below, and I'll try to make that for my next video. So, enjoy it,